I'm Shan Womack, Fire and Life Safety Specialist, Murfreesboro Fire. And this is Carl Pease, he's Assistant Chief. So we have a little presentation to show you. If you have any questions during it, just raise your hand and we'll stop. And then at the end, we can answer lots of questions if you have some. So we're just going to kind of go over. She wanted me to talk a little bit about home safety, a little bit about fire safety. I'm sure you've all heard it before, but we're going to kind of go over it. And that way, if you have any questions, we can get those answered for you too. All right, if you smoke outside. I think that's all common sense for us, right? So, and I'm sure we see a lot of people that smoke inside and don't discard their ashes properly. And unfortunately, we end up on a lot of house fires because of that reason. So, just like this says, use deep, sturdy ashtrays, wet cigarette butts and ashes before throwing them out. That's really a big issue. A lot of apartment complexes in the city, they actually provide buckets with water outside for that reason. And sand too. I'm sure you've all seen the sand ones. Never, ever, ever, ever smoke in bed. Okay? If you're on oxygen, home oxygen, do not smoke while you're on oxygen, okay? All right, space heaters. How many of us use space heaters? Yeah, I use one in my office because it's cold. They keep me cold in there. All right, so space heaters, we want them at least 3 feet away from anything that's combustible, okay? And we all know when we're sitting in our chairs at home, we have that space heater right up against us, don't we? Yeah, because we're cold, all right? So we just have to remember, when you get up, move it away, try not to leave it, unplug it. But it does need to be a little farther away because normally you're covered up with a blanket too because you're cold. All right, so we got to remember, if that blanket touches it or it gets knocked over, maybe our cat or our dog knocks it over while we're away for a little while. We just got to keep that in mind, okay? So we want to try to keep that about 3 feet away from anything. And just like we said, shut it off if you leave or go to bed. How many of you, talking about that, use electric blankets? Does anybody still? You do? My grandfather swears by electric blankets. And I tell him that it's very dangerous, okay? So just keep an eye on them because his is old and just because he likes that one and he won't accept a new one. So every time I'm there at his house, I check the wires, make sure they're not frayed. And just keep that in mind, okay? They're not just going to catch on fire using them. It's usually an issue with them. Frayed wires, just their age of them. Just like extension cords. Like a lot of people have extension cords in their homes and they'll run them all the way across like the living room floor, hide them under a rug. Well, as you walk on that rug over and over and over, you're stepping on that extension cord. Okay, you're wearing that extension cord down. And that's what causes the fire, not necessarily the extension cord. Okay, or too much voltage plugged into it. Okay? Stay in the kitchen when you're frying food. All right? I know a lot, especially younger kids. I say younger kids, college kids, they get hungry, they go fix food, they're on their phones, somebody calls, somebody texts, and they're distracted is what it boils down to. But even with us, cooking, we need to never leave cooking unattended. That's our leading cause of fires, unattended cooking. Use oven mitts and hot pans for your safety. If a pan catches on fire, slide the lid over it and turn the burner off. Okay, we never put water on a grease fire. Okay? And then, just like this says, if you're sleepy or on medication, don't cook. Call somebody. Tell them to bring you something to eat. Okay? It's easy to fall asleep. We've been on numerous fires because somebody came home late. They worked odd hours, came home late, and they're so tired and they're hungry. They try cooking, and they fall asleep. Then, unfortunately, they wake up to us being there with them. All right. Stop, drop, and roll. We teach this in the schools to our kids all the time and make them get on the floor and do it, but we won't do that for y'all today. All right. You're welcome. So we all do know that if our clothes catch on fire, we stop what we're doing and we smother it to put it out, right? would roll around, okay? This applies, even though we teach this to the kids, as adults, we need to tell ourselves the same thing because we forget in situations. All right, smoke alarms. How many of you have smoke alarms in your homes? All right, and so everybody has them. Perfect. A little bit about smoke alarms. If you know anybody or yourself that's hard of hearing, maybe you don't hear your smoke alarms when they're going off at night while you're asleep, you're just that hard of a sleeper. We actually have hearing impaired smoke alarms that we take and install for you, and it's got a piece that looks like a little alarm clock, and that device actually hears the smoke alarm go off, and there's a piece that goes to it that goes under your mattress, and it shakes your bed. Yep. So if you know of anybody or you need one yourself, just get in touch with us for that. All right, so this just says that smoke alarms should be on every level of your home, in each bedroom and outside in the sleeping area, in a common area. Okay? They don't want them near the kitchen. We all know why. I do. Yep, always goes off every time we cook. The interconnected, do any of you have the interconnected alarms where when one goes off, they all go off through the house? Okay, that's the newer homes, they have to be like that. And it's good. If one goes off, they all go off so we can hear them. Just like this says, make sure you can hear and have someone to test your alarms once a month. Does everybody do that? Yeah, no? We should definitely test. Definitely test our alarms every month. And when do we change the batteries? That's exactly right. Good job. That's exactly right. Daylight savings time. Yes, ma'am. Change those batteries. But yeah, if you're sitting here thinking, well, I don't know when the last time I did test my alarms were, you should probably go home and test them, okay? Don't do it yourself if you're not comfortable doing it, but have somebody call them, hey, come test these things. All right, plan and practice your escape from a fire. We really teach this in schools to the younger children because we know they're going to take it home, okay? Because adults need to be taught just as well as the children. And that's why we teach in the elementary school, because they do go home and they teach their parents. All right? So escape plans. In schools, they do fire drills once a month. They know where to go. Those kids line up. They know exactly where to go. They follow their teacher and they go to the same spot every single time. We need to be doing that in our homes as well. All right? So we need to know if my kitchen's on fire, this is how I'm getting out of my house. So everybody in your house needs to know where to go outside your house. And we tell the kids, you need to have a special meeting place. All right, whether it's your neighbor's mailbox or the big tree in your front yard or the barn across the street. You know, we don't really like telling kids to cross the street because in panic they're not going to look for cars. So, but just a meeting place. That way when we get there, heaven forbid your house is ever on fire, and your whole family is there, we can walk up to you and you're like, everybody's here, okay? Well, that calms us down a little bit. But if we come to you and you say, Sam's not out here, we don't know where Sam is, we haven't seen Sam, okay? So then we know we're going into rescue first, okay? So just kind of keep that in mind and practice these, just like the schools do. It doesn't hurt us at all to do those in our home as well. My little girl, she gets tired of hearing it. You know, and what made me teach her is because when she was little, I set off the smoke alarm cooking. She was in her bedroom, and she came out and stopped, drop, and roll. And she said, that's what they told us to do. So they're just confused because they just put it all together and kind of hear what they want. So she came out and did that, and I was like, no, honey, when you hear the smoke alarm, you get out of your house. You stop, drop, and roll if your clothes are on fire. She was young, so I'll give her credit. At least she knew something, right? But yeah, and she knows, you know, if our house ever catches on fire, she goes to our neighbor's house. So just have that common place that everybody in your family knows. And if you have kids or grandkids that come to visit you a lot, go over that with them too. If something ever happened, okay? And just like this says on the bottom, when you're out, stay out. Do not go back in, okay? Everybody knows 911. Sometimes we forget it in a panic. All right, plan your escape route around your disabilities. So if you have a disability that you know about and you can't get down your stairs quickly, your bedroom's upstairs, you can't get down quickly, you should maybe even think about moving your bedroom downstairs if that's an option. All right. Just like this says, have a telephone, have a way of communication with you at all times. You know, that way if you can't get out, you can call somebody, at least tell them where you're at. Hey, I'm still in here. And if you're talking to dispatch, you know, they relay that right to us, so we'll know exactly where you're at, and that's the first thing we do when we get there. We come and get you. All right?
Shan, you can also flag your address.
Yes, that's exactly right. Our dispatchers will flag your address. So if you have a disability that you know that it would be hard for you to get out anywhere, it's good to call our dispatch and just let them know that. That way, if we're ever sent to your house, then it pops right up on the engine company's computers and lets us know. Okay? All right, so this is going to talk a little bit more about just safety in itself, falls, some ways to kind of prevent that from happening, okay? We all need to do this, exercise regularly, right? Let's go on. All right, take your time. When you're getting up, you're sitting down in your chairs, or even getting out of your bed or the shower and bath is really the biggest thing. Just being careful and knowing your limits. Just like this says, get out of your chair slowly. You're not in a hurry. You're not in a hurry, okay? So take your time and do it slowly so you don't fall and have to have an emergency. Sit for a moment when you get out of your bed. If I know you're all like me, sometimes I'm running late, so I jump up real fast, and I'm like, whoa, I'm dizzy just from getting up so fast. So just kind of hang out there for a few minutes. When you stand up, you need to stand and get your balance before you start walking, and then be aware of your surroundings. Keep walking areas clear, and the stairs, obviously. Electrical cords, just like we talked about. Some people have them running all over their house, unfortunately. So just be aware. Shoes, clothing, anything in the floor, clutter. You know, just be aware of that. It's all a tripping hazard. Improve the lighting around your home. That way you can just see. Stairs is the biggest thing. You know, if you don't have good lighting around your stairs and you have stairs in your home, maybe a good idea to have somebody to put one in there. All right, bathtub. Non-slip mats on the shower floors is really big, okay? We actually see this quite often going on medical calls, people falling in the shower. You'd be surprised how many people fall in the shower, all right? So, and we have to be just as careful in there, all right? So those non-slip mats do work very well. All right, this one is big for me, the throw rugs on the floor. My grandpa has rugs everywhere. And he can hardly walk on a flat surface. And I don't know why he feels like he has to have those rugs everywhere, but he has them there, and you're not taking them up. All right? So just really be careful with those rugs, because we all know they get wadded up. The corners kind of pop up. We trip over them. I trip over them in my grandpa's house. So I can only imagine what he's doing. But they do make stuff that you can put on the back to make them stick to your floor so they won't move, okay? So if you have to have your rug like he does, maybe try that option, sticking them to the floor. Be aware of uneven sidewalks and pavement. And then ice and snow. That season's coming up, unfortunately. So just be very aware of that. Stairs, we just talked about that. Stairs should always be lit well. Wear sturdy, well-fitting shoes. And this is just to help us walk, help us not to trip and fall out of our shoes. And all right, so I think that's the end of the slideshow. I do have a couple handouts I'm going to give you that I'd like to talk about, just a couple more safety things. All right, so let's kind of go over this one first. And a lot of it's really kind of exactly what we've been talking about already, but this is actually ours. So, one thing I would like to hit that we didn't hear is closing your bedroom door when you sleep. All right, have you all heard this? Campaign, close your door. How many of you sleep with your doors closed? Good. Good. All right. I have been in this division for almost a year now, a year in January. I've been with the department for 15 years, but in this division. The first week that the three of us new ones came on, we actually had a house fire. So he took us there to kind of show us what to do, what to look for, and just kind of how they did things. Well, this fire, I will never forget, because the whole house is burned up, except for one bedroom. And you could hardly tell. When you were standing in that bedroom, you'd never know the rest of the house was burnt. Because the boy that was in that bedroom had his door closed during the fire. There was it a guitar hanging on the back of that door? And the guitar wasn't even, and then right behind the door to that guitar, the whole house was burnt. All right, so it does make a huge difference. All right, so that's why we've been teaching these kids in the schools. We've been in second grade at Overall Creek for 4 weeks now, and every time we're there, we're close the door, and it's pretty amazing how many of them already do it because they've already heard it, and we show them a video actually, and it's pretty amazing to see. Just kind of close before you doze, because I would love for you guys to see the difference in sleeping with your bedroom doors open versus sleeping in your bed. Now, I can't tell you what to do, but I can suggest to you what's the safest. I know a lot of people are like, well, I like to sleep with my door open so I can hear my kids. Or my dog likes to come in and out. My cat likes to come in and out. All right. So if you've seen this video, I think it would change your mind pretty majorly. And like he always says, as father and mothers, we're going to hear our kids if our door's closed or open. That's just how we are. We're going to hear that, okay? All right, so we'll go on while he looks for that. Fire escape plan, checklist. All right, you have a checklist on here. So it has that on there for you, okay? There, on this other sheet on the back, there is actually a place for you to fill out, if you want, an escape plan. Okay? So it just kind of shows you, no matter what room you're in, the best and quickest way to get out for you. Okay? So if many of you have grandchildren over there, it might be just something you want to talk to them about too. Hey, if you hear the smoke alarm goes off, this is where we need to go. This is what we need to do. All right? Smoke alarms, we talked about that, and everybody had those, correct? If you don't or know somebody that don't, Murfreesboro Fire, we will come and get those installed for you free of charge. All right, I found this video, so we'll watch this. It's pretty short.
We're here at the Delaware County Emergency Services Training Center in Pennsylvania, where we're repurposing one of our test fixtures to do a demonstration for Fire Prevention Week on the importance of closing your door. This year's theme, Close Before You Doze, will let us highlight the importance of putting that important barrier between you and the potential fire before you go to sleep at night. We're going to have an experiment where we're going to light the fire in the living room, cutting off your main source of egress. We're going to see how long it takes those smoke alarms to go off to give you that early warning, and look at what important role that the closed door plays in providing you time to be woken, understand what's happening around you, decide whether or not you can get out safely or not, and ultimately, if you can't, the important protection that it provides you to buy you time so the fire department can come and rescue you. In this 3-bedroom house, what's important to us is how long the occupants would have to survive. In order to determine that, we've got temperature measurements at every foot in every room in the house. We've got oxygen, carbon monoxide, and carbon dioxide measurements in the bedrooms as well as the hallway to understand what the potential occupants would be exposed to, along with our regular measurements of pressure, video, thermal imaging throughout the house so we can quantify the fire behavior. We're going to start the fire by lighting a sofa with the candle in the living room. That fire is going to begin to spread across the sofa, filling the house with smoke and heat. That smoke is going to begin to bank down. What we're looking at is the obvious difference in conditions between the open bedroom and the closed bedrooms and what that means for occupant survival time. we're going to allow that fire to progress, and we're going to be watching the front windows to the living room. The question to us is going to be, are those front living room windows going to fail or not? That fire is going to become ventilation limited, the windows are going to go out, we're going to have fire out of the front of the house, and we're going to continue to look at how that deteriorates conditions inside the house. Once we have that fire out the windows and things are not survivable in the open bedroom, we're going to have our suppression crew go ahead and move in, put the fire out.
We also teach the kids too, if you know that fire is outside your door, we teach them to feel the door with the back of their hands because we feel better with the back of our hands, okay? I make them pinch both sides, and obviously this side hurts worse, so to feel that door. If it's hot, do not open that door. Just leave it closed. Maybe take your comforter off your bed, shove it up against there just to limit the smoke from coming underneath the door. All right, just allow you enough time until we get there, okay? If you are on the first floor, by all means, if you can get out your window, that's the route to go if you cannot use your door, okay? All right, so let's see on here. We talked about space heaters, make sure they're 3 feet away, all that good stuff. On here, I think maybe one of the only things that we haven't talked about is candles. We all like candles because they smell good, right? Candles are very, very dangerous. All right. So if you do use candles, when you leave or go to bed, make sure they're out. Okay. Definitely make sure they're out. On here, we talked about smoking with oxygen, space heaters. On the back of this one, there's actually a place for you to make an escape plan. Just kind of draw it out and map your way from each room. Wouldn't be a bad idea at all. And we talked about grease fires, not putting water on them. Cover them if you can. If not, don't put yourself in danger. Just get out and call 911, okay? All right, well, we appreciate your time. If you ever have any questions, feel free to call us anytime. You're very welcome.